right. Good morning, everybody. How you doing?
Am I on?
Woo! I think we're still... Yeah, is that working?
Yeah, I'm on.
Cool. Awesome. G'day. How are you all? Excellent. Good to hear. My name is Scott Glue. I am a startup founder and organise morning startup every 2 weeks, rain, hail or shine. And here we have...
Hi, I'm Aron. I'm also a startup founder.
Correct. Good job.
I passed the test.
Yeah. Who hasn't been to morning startup before? Okay, cool. A few new faces. Welcome. So we start this so that we can learn from each other, get other smart people into the same room, founders, entrepreneurs, startup people, put on an interesting speaker that's hopefully on point for startups and getting their business underway. And we do this every 2 weeks, so you can always rely that if you come to Riff every 2 weeks, we're going to have something on for you. We've got some food, you can get to know each other, and hopefully you get something out of this. But first of all, we'd like to know who's here. This is your opportunity to sort of stand up and do a quick 20-second pitch about what you're working on or who you are. A shameless plug, an announcement, anything coming up. Does anyone want to go first?
All right.
Good on ya.
I get to play Prices Right today.
Good morning, my name's Brad. I'm from Rise Collaboration. We're a project management and process improvement company, and we've been helping organisations over the last year and a half sort of improve their organisational efficiencies and introduce internationally recognised project management frameworks that are not commonly available. Yeah, if you're interested in those sorts of things or need any assistance with your processes, please come see me and have a chat.
All right. Great. Who needs
Fantastic.
assistance with processes?
Assistance with processes. Love processes.
Come on, everyone does. Your
don't want to
processes
admit
are
it.
awesome. Let's go.
It's a safe space.
Cool.
Hello everyone, my name is Jun. This is my first time attending Morning Startup. I'm here to learn and meet the other entrepreneurs and get inspiration for my own startup journey. And I'm really excited to be part of this community and exploring new ideas for innovation in Perth. I'm very happy to meeting you all. Thank you.
Fantastic. Are you working on a startup at the moment?
Not yet. I'm just getting inspiration and then prepare
great.
my own startup journey.
Awesome. Okay, cool.
How exciting.
Yeah. It's the other reason we put this on, just for, inspiration.
I think the other one we have a lot of is
there
there anyone in the crowd who's looking for work at the moment?
No, not today.
Not today, we usually do. Anyone hiring? Oh.
Plenty of people hiring.
Well, both. Masood Hussain, I'm a management consultant, so basically look at more operational transformation.
Okay.
Good to great companies, so anyone who's in the mid-tiers or even wanting to actually transform their business, that's me. So I can help out.
Good to great companies.
That's
I like
it.
I was actually just rereading that one last night.
All right, and we have someone down here who is hiring.
Morning everyone, Dave from Better Labs in the Venture Studio. Working on a project called Kiteside at the moment. We're building an e-commerce tool for creators around the world in the UGC space. Looking for a senior full-stack developer local in Perth to help us 4 to 5 days a week for a 6-month contract. So if you know anyone that loves Next.js, Supabase, bonus points for Stripe Connect experience. That's like the unicorn thing that we need.
Yeah.
I love that little awkward laugh just at the end there from the crowd. Wasn't that beautiful?
Very cool. All right, any other shameless plugs, announcements? Nope. All right, I've got a couple. Founder Sundowner. It's a meetup group on the first Wednesday of every month down at Nowhere Man Brewery, other side of Nowhere. Come along and have a drink and some pizza with startup founders. Purpose Ventures are having an information session on the 6th of November. It's online. Scan the QR code if you want to get some funding in WA. Couple of conferences coming up. DDD Perth. Developers in the room. If you probably know about this.
Yeah, we're very excited about this.
Nina's here.
Yes. Oh, well,
Nina's
do we
giving
want
a
to
talk.
have a sneak peek? Yep.
Shameless plug on Nina's talk at DDD.
Yeah, so actually it will be around 11:30, and it's going to be really exciting because we're going to, I'll be sharing a little bit about how AI and communication is really annoying, but also we'll be building an app together. So like you'll be texting me, and then the app is going to be built by AI and a little bit of my help, and we'll see where that is. I think it's actually quite useful for like creating a startup and using AI as your assistant and first employee and everything, you know.
Well, are you going to be doing like live coding,
Yes.
live demo in a talk?
That's brave.
That's very brave. Nothing will go wrong. Cool. So that's on the 16th of November. Tickets are still available, but they are running out. So get on DDD Perth and get on it. You've probably all heard about West Tech Fest.
I think the question is, has anyone not heard about West Tech Fest?
No hands. There we go.
Oh, there we
Doing
go.
their job. All right. Well, that's it, pretty much. Cool. It's a whole week, if you haven't. Whole week of tech stuff. So get on West Tech Fest website and sign up. Tickets are still going. I think they've sold out of the festival passes.
But I think for the startup community, if you're looking for one event, because it is a whole week, the one to get around is the Freo Startup Fest. TechOn are doing their tech talks. So really good sort of out of all of the events that are happening across the week. If you are looking for one thing to go to, check out the event in Freo because it's specifically targeted at startup founders.
Yeah, I really enjoy the Freo one too. It's the most fun, I think. Bit controversial. Sorry? Bringing back the Roto trip. No, they're doing West Tech Coast. So I think it's, is it at Coast? At
Yeah, I haven't looked at so it's the same style event, but held on Perth mainland in Fremantle as well.
Yeah, I think to bring the ticket prices down a little bit because that price of the boat to get there and everything was a bit exy. Cool. I think that's it for... Yes, that's it. But Livestream. Thank you, Reese and Jürgen at perthvideo.com. And that is thanks to Jitsi, the Department of Jobs, Tourism, Science and Innovation. They pay for us to live stream this to the regions every second week. They have a range of programs, including the Innovation Booster Grants. So if you need $40,000 for your startup, get on the Innovation Booster Grants. If you need $200,000 of match funding, get around the Commercialisation Bridge Grants.
Correct.
And if you're an investor and if you're anything, they've got programs for you. So
and I think
thank you
the other part is if you haven't already, check out your page on. So if you've got a startup, even if it's in its infancy, make sure that you're on Deal Room because that's an important part of the startup ecosystem. So tracking who's working on what, so that we can. The more startups that we have in Deal Room, the more that we can demonstrate funding.
Yeah. That's right. There's actually startups in WA doing cool stuff, so get around it. This is being live streamed on /Morning Startup Perth on perthvideo.com.au if you want to check that out. Ammo. So, is Jack in the room? No. Ammo have been helping us out since the pandemic when we had to go online and pay for horrible Zoom fees and things. They obviously run a marketing agency if you need to hit the accelerator on your company and get some growth. They also have a really cool podcast called Weird Growth, so make sure you jump on that. It's interviews with startup founders, tech folks, and get inspired. Thank you, Ammo Marketing, for your support of Morning Startup. Beecham Group, we've got Glenn at the back. Do you want to do a plug for Beecham?
I'll come on down. We waited until you started eating to do this.
So Beecham are a recruitment company here in Perth if you need a job.
Sorry, yeah.
Check out this guy.
All right.
He's awesome.
What was my last tip and hack? It was about it was referencing, wasn't it? So I was talking about referencing, and I said, see the whites of people's eyes because you don't know. Talking about AI, you don't know you're talking to when you're doing a reference check, and people go, "I can't be fagged. I'm in love with this person, and I want to hire them." And I said, "Don't ever do that." So that was that one.
Check references.
Always check references before and after the hiring process. All right. The other one, sorry, and I talked to this, I went away with my son. He's just finishing year 12. The big question to ask as part of an interviewing thing, ask a person about what their best learning experience was. So what did they fail at? What did they learn from it, right? The 360-degree feedback or that self-reflection evaluation assessment is critically important, and it tells you how people actually think and how they problem solve and how they deal with failure, learning mistakes, etc. too. Often overlooked because people just coast through the interview questions and just think it's somewhat of a game. So
I like it.
Good one
What's
to
your
use.
biggest learning?
Learning.
Cool. I'll chuck that in my list.
Flirting, that's this. I just learned a new word today. I'm very excited. Flirting, thanks.
Learning through failure, yeah. Cool, so yeah, Glenn knows his stuff. Reach out to him if you're looking to hire. And we've got some great food at the back there. That's thanks to Keep Space. If you're in the e-commerce game, and 3PL is an acronym you know about, and you need to ship stuff around, they've got a warehouse in Perth and Melbourne, and a cool platform to manage it all. So get on Keep Space.
Tech On. I think the in-joke today is that I'm literally leading for Tech On. That's how much we appreciate Tech On at Morning Startup. So for those of you who grabbed a coffee this morning from Zoe Zaza's, that's courtesy of the wonderful team at Tech On. So if you're looking to build something and looking for a technical team, here's Matt. Have a chat to Matt. And he'll walk you through what Tech On can do for you.
Cool. Yeah, I think there's a gentleman at the back looking for developers. I don't know if you've considered Tech On, but yeah, just a plug for them. Okay. All right. Space Cube, you're in a wonderful place here. It's a co-working space called Riff. It's owned by Space Cube. They have a few more down the road, Flux and Fern. If you need somewhere to work, do it at Space Cube.
Startup News. So Startup News is another, so if you haven't already subscribed to Startup News, get on it. Their newsletter comes out every Friday, and it's a great way to stay on top of what's happening in the Perth innovation ecosystem. So lots of things that are helpful to know, like what's coming up in terms of grants, cool events, and keeping track of who's doing what.
Yeah, and they'll also send a journo out to your place if you've got a story. So just reach out to them and say, hey, I've got a startup story.
Yeah.
They'll do a word on you. Cool. And +8, Startup WA, I missed them. That's our body for lobbying to government. So if you've got something that you would really like to see in the Perth startup ecosystem improved, then get on Startup WA. All of those programs from Jitsi that we mentioned earlier is pretty much thanks to the good work of Startup WA. So make sure you're a member, 100% free, and you'll get all of their info. And +8, I might cover them as part of this,
yes.
Which is, if you want to scan that QR code while it's here, there's a range of programs in WA for you, regardless of what your company is or what industry you're in, medtech or agriculture or whatever it might be. There are programs and investors and all of that stuff that can help you out. So this QR code takes you to a website, which I wish I could remember the URL of right now.
No pressure.
And it can ask you questions. It has a little AI chatbot thing and will give you recommendations of what you should do. So, yeah.
So this is all part of the Mesh Points program that's sponsored by Jitsi as well. So bringing everyone together, so making it a seamless journey for you as a startup founder. What sits behind this is a lovely group of people called Mesh Points who come together to make sure that we're covering everything from I've got an idea right through to scaling internationally.
And the URL is innovationecosystem.info, wa.innovationecosystem.info. All right, for those that don't like QR codes. Get in touch with us. We're Morning Startup on all the things. Love to hear from you if you want to do a talk one day. If you've got something of interest to the Perth startup community, reach out. contact@morningstartup.com is probably the best email address.
Does your Slack channel still work? Because someone was complaining about that the other day.
Oh, what, they couldn't join?
Yeah.
That's the issue. So, yeah, Slack's weird with if you want to join our Slack channel, just hit us up with an email and I'll need to invite you. We need to fix that. You're a developer, Nina. Might get you. Cool. Well, thanks for the heads up on that. We'll get that going. I'd love to get the Slack channel going because I think Perth needs a good Slack channel that everyone can communicate on and do. There's not really anything going. Cool. In 2 weeks' time.
In 2 weeks' time, we're going to have a panel. So something a little bit different is I'm going to be facilitating a panel with Gabe and Lan. both from XTAG. And what we're going to be covering is actually how do you sell something. So we talk a lot about the theory of startups, and we've had lots of people come along and talk about the woulds and shoulds. And we always end up with, but yeah, you've got to sell your product. So what we're actually going to be delving into, and both Gabe and Lan and I caught up on a planning call last week, and it should be really fascinating. They're going to be really open about some of their experiences. So Gabe talking from his perspective as a startup founder, and Lan talking from the perspective of someone who just lives and breathes sales.
That's going to be really cool. Gabe has talked at Morning Startup before. He sold his previous company, Track My Subs, using acquire.com or one of those things, and that was a really insightful talk. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to this. It's going to be very cool. Come along, 2 weeks' time.
I believe these formalities are over.
Correct. Nice. All right, formalities out of the way, and that brings us to a sexy hippopotamus. I'll let you do the intro, because that's probably the best I've got.
I thought we were just going to leave it there. All right, so for who is going to be speaking today is Aron. I won't talk too much about and give away the surprise, but what Aron's going to be walking us through, and it's kind of going to be like a baptism of fire. So this is a cut-down version of a much longer presentation. So get your phones ready, because he's going to move fast and furious. So feel free to take photos of slides. And as normal, we'll have questions at the end. So if you feel a little bit like you're drinking from a fire hose, that's totally normal. That's okay. That is the expected experience from today's presenter. So he'll walk you through everything that you ever wanted to know about building a better brand, and then hold your questions, and we'll have time at the end.
Fantastic. Let's make a welcome, Aron.
Thanks, guys. So I'm not used to doing this with a microphone. I'm used to shouting across the room. Okay, I'll crack straight in. As Aron said, it's going to be a bit of a brain dump. So, yeah, absolutely whip your phones out, take photos, ask any questions at the end. If you want to catch me on an email or something afterwards, that's fine too. So I'll kick us off. Imagine you're sitting at home, you're having breakfast, there's a knock at the door. It's your neighbour, and they're asking you to help move the couch. Probably say yes, because you're a nice person, maybe. Then imagine they said, I'll give you $1 if you do. Are you more or less likely to help? Most people are probably less likely to help, because the emotional insult trumps the rational, even though in the second situation you're actually better off. Brands are doing this every day. So, getting the balance right between brand and activation in your marketing strategy is the key to success. On the right-hand side there, you can see the orange line, that's tracking brand building. The yellow line is tracking sales or activations. So, essentially what you're saying is sales and activations are the discounts and smashing special offers and all those sorts of things down people's throats. The brand building is the slow burn, but generally results in greater profits in the long term. There are some figures down the bottom there on what sort of splits you should be looking at, and it's not to say that you should be doing one or the other. The answer is always and. So, quick round table. What is a brand? Can anyone want to shout out some words?
It's a personality.
Personality? Anything else?
What your customers think about you.
What your customers think about you? Yep, good. Anyone else? Yep. Uniqueness? Excellent. Yep. And all those are correct, including this one, all these ones here. It's your logo, your colours, your product, how you talk, fonts, all of those. Overarchingly though, it's a promise. It's what you are promising that they're going to get from you every time they interact with you. So, what we're going to go through today is largely how to build that and how to communicate it to your customers. And ideally, that they start speaking that same language. So your brand is a promise to the customer that you'll meet the expectations you've created through consistent themes and messages. It's how they'll talk about you behind your back. So, step 1, know your goals. what will you... Oh, that was weird. So first you've got to set out what will you be known for. So what are you going to be known for in the market? The macro level trend, situation or experience that sets the demand for your product. So essentially what you're trying to do is identify the gap in the market. An example, sportswear and innovation, and the crossover being innovation. We're known for encouraging anyone with a body to maintain an active lifestyle. If you have a body, you're an athlete. So just do it. Anyone know who that is?
Nike.
Yeah, pretty obvious. Okay, the next one. What are the business drivers? How are you going to measure success? So you've got to set a timeline. You want 3, 6, 12 months, 5 years. What are the overarching goals? How do we prove we're winning? What's the end goal? What constraints do we have? And as someone else actually alluded to earlier this morning, what will we not do? Step 2, know yourself. So, creating a proposition. Essentially what we're trying to do is establish a belief. In that belief, we will generate behaviours. That will generate advocacy, ideally feeding back in towards the belief. So our vision drives our belief, which in turn influences our behaviour, both internal and external, which drives advocacy of the vision, which also reinforces our beliefs, which are more easily communicated and understood with a succinct proposition. So proposition being something like Nike's Just Do It. To build a proposition, we go through what, how and why. A lot of you have probably seen this. It's quite a common way of reaching a proposition. So the what is the actual gap, product, feature or thing. How is the proposition, differentiator or process. And why is the reason you believe I should buy it. So to use Nike again as an example. Oh, sorry. Anyone can copy the what and the how. Copying the why is actually quite difficult. So Nike is an example. We create products that expand human potential by bringing inspiration to every athlete in the world, because if you have a body, you're an athlete. So now you've got to say that in as few words as possible. So what are they thinking, feeling and doing? Their goal is to inspire people, so just do it. Now, to build an elevator pitch, you have to pass the pub test. Tell me in under 30 seconds what you do and why it matters. State the problem, tell me how you solve it, inspire me to want to solve it too. So, you take the problem, you take your what, your how, your why, and your proposition, and you should have a pretty good elevator pitch. So, here's one for Nike. Being healthy is hard. Finding the motivation to push yourself, to go beyond. Nike create ways to expand human potential and bring inspiration to every athlete in the world. Because if you have a body, you're an athlete. It's time to get out there and just do it. Now, into tone of voice. I told you we'd be blitzing through. You can personify your way of speaking. So that is to say, create a persona for your brand that anyone can communicate in the same voice. This is particularly important if you're running a business and you're starting to hire new people. As you're bringing those new people on and they're doing social media posts or emails, customer support, all that sort of stuff, you want them to be communicating all in a consistent tone so that the customer has the same experience and they're, again, experiencing that promise that you delivered earlier on. So, choose a famous person, someone who resonates with your style of delivery. Give a short biography of them, for those who don't know who it is. Find a couple of videos of them talking to demonstrate the style. Sum it up in 2 or 3 words. How do you describe the tone of voice? Break that down into 3 core ways of speaking and explain each with examples. Rewrite your elevator pitch in that tone of voice. An example? We can actually answer the question of what it would sound like if Nike sounded like Ryan Reynolds. So, we take Ryan Reynolds, we've got a little biography of him there, we've got some videos of him talking. He's smart, casual, creative and confident. So overarchingly, Ryan Reynolds is casually confident. This is actually an example of a tone of voice piece that I built for somebody else. Except, we've now got Nike's version. So, staying healthy is a real pain in the butt. Sometimes literally. We won't talk about that. But you're a beautiful being and you deserve better for yourself. You can expand your potential instead of your waistline because everybody is an athlete's body, no matter how rotund. So, get out there and take on the world, you magnificent beast. Just do it. So that's taking what we wrote before and repackaging it up in that Ryan Reynolds tone of voice. Not that Nike would ever do that, but it gives you an example of how you can completely change the attitude or the feel of the company just through doing this simple step. And it's something that you can package and give to anybody that's going to be working on your brand. Step 3, know your customer. Say no to demographic personas. If you were to look at me, I'm 35 to 45 years old, male, middle income. Doesn't really tell you much. But we can do behavioural-based personas. So focus on diverse attitudes, needs, behaviours, motivations. Identify the mindsets and attitudes that align with your objectives. Combine 2, combine 3. So in that, you're trying to segment people out, right? So you've got behaviour, location, personal interest, life stages, attitudes, needs, motivations. Distill that into an overarching single sentence. So you might have, say, 4 or 5 people that are all different types of customer, but overarchingly, who are you talking to? So it could be, we're talking to people who enjoy a personal interest, who have an attitude and a motivation. That can give you a bit of an oversight on who these people are. Then, rather than me just being a boring middle-aged dude, well, I'd like to say middle-aged, hopefully a little longer, Aron, the professional who lives life to the fullest. I'm an early riser, I live in the suburbs. I enjoy outdoors and exercise. I'm a single father of 2, under 10. I'm easygoing, sceptical, I'm a little old school. I need attention, I need validation. I very much want to be the best role model for my kids. That's giving you a lot more information about me, and it's much more easy to unpack what's going to motivate me when you're trying to communicate any sort of sales message, brand message, anything like that. It's going to give you some values and barriers. So when we start talking about how to align the brand with that, we can say, well, Aron, as me, I can use the brand even when it's dark in the morning. With the brand, I don't need to worry about travel time. With the brand, exercise is more fun. And then barriers. What's stopping me from buying into your product? Can we head those things off at the pass? So, you know, what if I look silly? Well, I might look silly, but I'll be having fun. Or if it's my kids love it, so it's easy. Well, it's for kids of all ages, even dad. So we can wrap messaging around those values and barriers. We can communicate different parts of the product that are going to work to suit our target market in a way that resonates specifically with them. It's very, very useful for social media as well. So, creating customer benefits. What are the overarching reasons to buy your brand? So, these can be rational and emotional, right? You might just have a really good product. There doesn't need to be an emotional attachment to something that's just really good. But there's obviously emotional sides to that as well. Pop those top 3 to 6 things down as headlines. Write 2 to 3 sentences to explain each one in your tone of voice. Map each customer benefit in order of importance to each persona. So an example, VertCC is a virtual debit card company based in the US. One of their messages to market, customer benefits, is your money, your way. The sentence for that is get the financial freedom you deserve without the need for old-fashioned credit scores. Start spending how you want, where you want, when you want, with total visibility over every card. And then we've got one of their personas, which is Ron. He's the parent of a teenager. We've got all their different customer benefits there, but the your money, your way one is the most important one to him. So as we map these out for different personas, we'll rearrange those, and then depending on their level of importance, when we know that we're communicating to that customer, we can deliver the information in an order that's going to best resonate with them, with messages that then also best resonate with them. Into making your message memorable, distinctive assets. You've definitely all heard of these before, but perhaps not described in this way. They're any element that signal your brand name to customers. So it's your logo, symbol, colours, slogans, characters, tone of voice, audio, sounds, any other sensory cue. An element is only a distinctive asset if it's unique and famous. Famous meaning you've got to build it over time, you've got to stick with it, and eventually you'll be known for it. So Kit Kats have a break, is obviously a very strong one for that. Again, it's all about sticking with this for the long term. So build these assets. You will get bored of them. You will get tired of them. Your customer doesn't, because they don't see it that often, even though you're immersed in it every day. So into some of these assets. We're looking at how many you can own. You don't need to own all of them. You might pick one, you might pick two. We've got visual, things like Coke bottle shapes, Cadbury purple, Nike swooshes. Verbal, things like Googling, hoovering, or other innovation naming like the Joule Cyclone. We've got voice and vibe. Some of them are good at this, some similar to IKEA, where they've kind of got their offbeat tone. Visceral, Toyota's got their oh what a feeling. You've got peeling the top of a Pringles can, that distinctive sound. They've worked very hard on that and kept that through every iteration. Or even just the smell that gets pumped out of a Macca's restaurant. Value add, Dove, they talk about a moisturising bar, not soap. Coke, the taste. Is Pepsi okay? Well, depends. Can I pay with Monopoly money? Vicinity. Volvo, for instance, always shot in the Scandinavian landscape. There's a few exceptions more recently, but establishing these kind of we live here situations. Viewpoints. Dove again with their Real Beauty campaign, which is still going. Patagonia on sustainability. Or to the negative, a lot of you might remember Gillette when they did their toxic masculinity campaign. So again, remember, an element is only a distinctive asset if it's unique and famous. Customers need to learn to make the link between each distinctive asset and your brand. It means constant reinforcement and refreshment over time. So basically, again, stick with it. Make sure that you just keep drilling those things home. What ties it all together is visibility. So the power of exposure. How often your brand is actually able to be seen. More is always better. So when you're thinking about your channel mix, you've obviously got all your different personas that you want to market to. You're going to find them on different channels at different times with different goals, mindsets, all those sorts of things. That's not to say you want to bombard them with ads. You want to be doing a lot of value add, but certainly consider that customer journey and which channels they might be on at those stages of that customer journey, and you'll be able to kind of target those different distinctive assets for those different moments. Right, into category entry points, which gets into the moments. Making your brand the first that comes to mind. So being easily thought of in a buying situation is the key to growing a successful brand. So understanding their mental availability, meaning the probability that they'll notice or recognise and think of your brand when they're in a buying situation, that's what's going to get you ahead of the pack. So for coffee, caffeinated drinks industry, they've got many category entry points. Get a jump start in the morning, sports performance, social integration, but coffee isn't particularly thought of as great for quenching thirst, right? So that could be an opportunity in market. So you can utilise that non-association to build a new category entry point and say, hey, let's go, when people are thirsty, they could have one of our coffees. So we want to be thought of in that buying situation. What's a sweet snack that tames your hunger? Anyone?
Snickers.
That's the one. So Snickers has done a great job of creating a category entry point. And another example, apartments. So we can build category entry points out. This is probably a good one to get a photo of. When are they purchasing? What are they doing? With, for, like what are they doing it for? How are they feeling? Why are they purchasing this? And where are they doing it? So to quickly run through those. When? Maybe after a major life event, marriage or divorce. While I'm visiting displays, I'm renting, I'm living at home. There's all these situations that I could be in while I'm trying to buy an apartment. Who am I buying it for? Is it for me? Is it for us? Am I doing it with my financial planner? All those sorts of things. So we can think about that purchasing decision and all the different ways that we might approach that. So to take the when point for buying an apartment, I can then expand upon this by thinking about messaging, product, price, and distribution. So if we take after a major life event, marriage or divorce, a message could be, we know everything about starting your life because we've been helping people do it for over 20 years. Or a product. Well, we've got singles pad designs built with room for kids. So using the category entry points, you can actually target those key 4 Ps of marketing to create all those different messages to attract customers. Before you commit to any, do a competitor analysis. Make sure your marketing isn't being attributed to another brand. Sometimes it's obvious, sometimes it's not, because you're not necessarily immersed in it every day, or you're so immersed in your own brand that you forget to consider the others. Almost done. So, last little nuggets. Penetration, not loyalty, drives growth. That is to say, most of your customers are light buyers going 6, 12 months, maybe longer, without a purchase. Are you making yourself easily remembered, often, and to as many people as possible? Again, distinctive assets, category entry points, all your messaging, tone of voice, all that stuff. Ads work best when you can say, we've got low prices, in which case, up your activations, or we've got high quality, in which case, up your brand building. Most of our decision making is emotionally driven. Get attention with emotion, then provide the rationale after the point of purchase. Buy as many ads as you can afford on as many channels as you can. Now, that's not to say go broke doing ads. Target them. But brands with paid media grow 3 times faster than those relying solely on owned and earned. So advertising is important. You've got to do it right. You've got to do it consistently. Think about how you can get all the channels to work together. So you want to get someone to, say, see a billboard, and then later on they're listening to Spotify and they cop a Spotify ad. Maybe you can make those messages tie in. Awareness is a combination of reach and frequency, right? So reach, how many people you can get, how often, that's your awareness. Marketing spend always correlates with market share. Spend more, sell more. So when we talk about those government grants and things as well, a lot of government grants will cover marketing. So it's worth considering how you can mix that development as well as advertising as well as go to market. It looks like Aaron's got something to say.
Oh, yeah, when you...
Go, Aaron, go.
I was going to say I did exactly that. So for the Innovation Booster grant that I got a few years ago for Stories Unseen, it was specifically to use augmented reality in marketing campaigns. So, yes, can definitely say that is a thing.
Excellent. And your brand is probably not different. Customers often buy multiple brands in a category, so make yours the most distinctive. That is to say, Stories Unseen, Aaron's startup. It's got plenty of competitors, not necessarily in Perth, but certainly globally. There is plenty of competition. Just Google is a competition to Stories Unseen. I can just search, hey, what am I going to do in the city today? So, how do you stand out? What makes you distinctive, memorable? People are probably going to go for that because it's a shortcut. Simply is hard. Obvious is actually a good thing, so lean into it. Now, when I say that, don't get too into the weeds. If you've got a good product, tell everyone it's a good product. You don't need to over-justify. So, in summary, know your goals, know yourself, know your customer. I can make this document shareable for those who didn't get enough photos. Do reach out to me after the fact if you've got any questions. And Aaron.
Wow, how's everyone feeling after that? Woo! Should we just all take a collective... That was a lot to take in, so I'm sure that we're all feeling pretty
Overwhelmed?
Overwhelmed, thank you. That's clearly demonstrating their feelings of overwhelmed, is I'm forgetting my words. So for the purpose of everybody who's watching along on the live stream, when we're doing questions, just make sure that you're talking into the microphone so that we can catch your lovely questions for those playing along at home. So just wanted to open it up to questions. Show of hands. All right, got one over here.
Thanks, Aaron. Any thoughts on kind of percentage of revenue for early stage startups with the media spend side of things? Like, kind of what's the current thinking on that?
It is a tricky one. In an ideal world, it's loosely 5%. It often ends up being far, far less. From my experience, it tends to be more like 1.5 to 2.
Fantastic. Next question I've got over here.
Hello. Yeah, great, thanks. That was an excellent talk. Thanks, Aaron. One question I have is around the branding, as in, how do you know your branding is working? I mean, what kind of feedback are you trying to get out of your branding, and how do you know if the sales aren't coming? Is it to do with the branding, or is it to do with something else?
The answer is always and. So if the sales aren't coming, that's probably a question for which channels are you operating, where are the leads coming from? As a startup, there's a lot to be said for personal brand. So you've got to be out there selling it, networking, building those collaborations and opportunities that will get you noticed by industry partners as well as customers. So you've probably got to take a multi-pronged approach on that front. How to know that branding is working? The short answer is you don't. Not in the short term. It's a very, very long-term process, and that's why I say you should stick with it. Making reactions on month-to-month stats, goals, all those sorts of things is very difficult. It's like weight loss. You know, if you're weighing yourself every day and you're going up and down and all over the place, it could be very demotivational. So build in some other tracking. Are your shirts fitting better? Are your pants fitting better? Well, those are some other ways to measure, you know, am I actually losing weight? Same with branding. Look at website visitors, social media interaction, those sorts of things. There's a lot of things that can say that brand is tracking well. There's a few survey sort of options that you can do, engagement with email platforms and things like that. Ask people. The main thing you can do is ask people. How many times have you made a purchase and then gotten a follow-up email from the company, for instance, that says, hey, rate your purchase, tell us how it went? And often, if you do leave a negative review, they will contact you and say, hey, what could we have done to make that better? Those sorts of things, creating those little feedback loops, those are ways to help you understand whether it's working. But in a real-world situation, it's very, very long-term. Aron can probably speak to the slow burn.
Yeah, I was actually saying to Aaron this morning, there was a branding piece that Aaron and I worked on 5 years ago. And in the first year, I was constantly looking at Aaron going, should we change it? Should we change it? Is this working? I'm not sure. Can we change it? Like, I don't like this and I don't like that.
No.
And Aaron, that was his exact answer, was no, just stick with it, just stick with it. And I was actually looking at that brand this week because I don't look at the brand anymore, I don't see the brand. But was really, really fascinating is the underlying business has evolved completely from what it was 5 years ago. But what was really fascinating is all of that work that you saw on those slides that we went through still holds true today. So product completely different, structure of the company completely different, what we do completely different. But the brand that sits behind that has been completely enduring. So, yeah, on a personal front, can 100% say the first year, when you going, oh, the sales aren't coming in, what should I do? Definitely stick with it.
Just to continue on the question,
sure.
On the similar topic probably, what's the good timing of branding? Like, how do you actually figure out time for your branding requirements as a startup?
Yep.
And when do you do the branding? What's the timing? And when do you actually need to spend all that capital?
So, it's actually a great question, because early on, you probably don't really know who your customers are, right? It's very hard to build those personas when you're kind of like, well, I built this for me because I just think it's cool. Build it for you. Make you that persona. Think about the other people that could do it, build those personas, go to market with what you can, but again, feedback loop. So as you're going to market, and as Aron has said, her businesses have changed dramatically since inception because I didn't even think that could be a market, but suddenly it is. Now, I can use an example, that virtual credit card company. They started out as a reseller for sneakers, and literally it was a case of, I can't get enough credit cards to be able to buy sneaker drops because they limit you to one purchase. So I'm going to start a new virtual credit card company with 50 cards, and then I can buy all the virtual, like using those virtual cards, I can buy all the sneakers I want, and that solves my problem. Through the branding process, and me thinking about, well, how would this product work for me? I said, well, this would be great for me because I could have a card for my online purchases. I could give my daughter a card. I could give my son a card. I can control how much money's on there. It completely actually changed, doing the branding process, looking at the category entry points, all those sorts of things, actually changed the product and created a situation where MasterCard and one of the other banks in the US are coming to us and saying, when is it going to be ready? When can we launch? We really want to get this thing going because this product doesn't exist for families. This is amazing. So the timing, it's always now. But you've got to keep looking at it, reviewing, adapting. So as you go to market and as you build those product milestones, or as you get that next big sale or that next cool customer, is to kind of say, well, actually, they're not in our little realm here. So let's work on that. Let's build that out. And you might find it actually changes the direction of the company.
Any more questions?
Thanks, Alan. The speaking was excellent. I have some questions. What drives you to start your own startup in Perth? What's the advice you give the early stage entrepreneur in Perth want to convert the idea to a startup? Thank you.
Okay, so I had many years in the marketing industry. There was a bit of a turning point. I had a 2-year-old and a 6-month-old at home, and I actually was hired for a job, and after 5 weeks, I was let go. I had the choice. I could either go back to where I was before, which would have been fine. They would have taken me back and I would have slipped straight back in. I was working on national brands and state government and all sorts of like really cool stuff. But learning, basically, I couldn't go back. I had to fail upwards. So I made the decision, nope, I'm going to do this. I'm going to start my own thing. I'm going to do it for me. I'm going to prove that what I was hired to do, I can do, and I'm going to do it for me. And I'm going to do it for those 2 kids at home who, well, really, I've literally got no choice because I need to make money. So that's the bare bones honest answer. Multiple people have asked me the same question. How did you do it? How did you start up on your own? I didn't have a choice. I had to.
I don't need my microphone. I'm loud enough.
Just something for the people at home.
Why anarchy?
Yeah.
Good question. Because marketing, running a business, it's chaos. That's it.
All right. Last few questions.
Yeah, I do have one question. So you mentioned that investing in marketing campaigns is really important, and I agree. But I have also learned online that social media algorithms specifically are very complicated. So once you teach them that you will pay for a reach, then you can't reach your audience anymore unless you pay. And I was like wondering, what's your experience with it?
My experience is that the entire system is pay to play. And social media and digital advertising largely is about the same cost as TV, radio, outdoor, any of the other mass media. So for you to get a decent amount of reach on Google, Facebook and the like, you will be spending similar amounts of money to a radio, TV and outdoor campaign. There's just no way around that. It has the illusion of being cheap because they can say, oh, you've reached 1 million people and it's only cost you 5 cents. How many of those 1 million people were actually interested in your product? So, and how many were even paying attention, right? Like I think Google, I can't remember the last stat, but I think Google or Facebook, one of them, they count a view of an ad as, I think last time I checked it was 2 seconds. So the time it takes for you to scroll that ad past your screen, they'll count that as a view, even though you might not have actually seen it.
So it's maybe better to start organic, and then once you have money to actually
Yes.
invest real money.
100%. So start organic. As I said, build your industry partners. Who are the other businesses you can work with that can potentially give you referral work, those sorts of things. Build your customer bases. Do as much organic as possible until you can afford to pay and consistently pay. Because the last thing you want to do is turn the tap off. However, there's also strategies in media buying where you can do, like, say, blocks. Imagine a normal Gantt chart and do some blocks. And I think Harvey Norman's probably a really good example of that. They're generally, I think on radio, for instance, they'll be on every second week. So they'll go maybe 1 week on, 2 weeks off, and consistent. So it feels like they're always on the radio, but they're actually only on 1 out of every 3 weeks.
Yeah, I've got one question around copywriting specifically. So a lot of startups might not have the funds to hire an agency or a marketing person, and they're just doing it themselves.
Yep.
Around like trying to get the message right, do you have any like really useful resources or anything that people can tap into to improve their copywriting?
100%. Pay for a ChatGPT account.
Okay.
Create your tone of voice. Create your personas. Create your distinctive assets. All of those things. Train a new GPT. Tell that GPT, you are a marketing expert in my brand, whatever the product is. It will say, I'm not, but I'll do my best. It will. Feed it all of that information. I have the following personas. These personas have the following motivations. This is my tone of voice. It sounds like this. It feels like this, etc. Teach that GPT. Then I need to write a multi-page essay for a thing using Aron's persona and this product. And I want to really focus on these 2 customer benefits. Let GPT do the work, edit it.
5 stars would recommend. I did that recently, and I had to write an awards submission a few weeks ago. And who here's written an awards submission before? Yeah, not much fun. And it was the most easiest experience because I'd gone through the effort of the training that Aron mentioned. What it meant was to be able to write this awards submission. I did it in 10 minutes for a process that would usually take 3 hours and usually involve some kind of crying, swearing, shouting. So it is well and truly worth it. It takes a little while to get it to where you want it to be. But once you're there, because you can tailor it to your different personas, it is well worth the energy.
I would say as well, though, if you've got a technical product and you're giving it technical training, make sure you brief that GPT to annotize your text and cite the sources in the bottom, so that you can go back and check those sources and make sure that information is accurate. because it does tend to throw some curveballs.
All right, I'll hand over to Scott.
Oh, all right then. Thank you very much. I just want to give my heartfelt appreciation for Aaron for coming along and sharing his wisdom with us all. Thank you very much. That was awesome. Cool. Are you going to stick around for half an hour?
Yeah, I'll float around. If anyone's got any other questions or whatever, shout out.
Excellent. All right, well, help yourself to the food. Thanks to Keep Space once again. Grab yourself a coffee. Thanks to TechOn. Come along in 2 weeks' time for the panel with Gabe and Lan. That's going to be awesome. And see you at Founder Sundowner. Yeah, thanks. Thanks for coming down.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers. Thanks so much.
Cheers.
Cheers.
I think I turned it off.
Yeah, these mics are...